Now the Hero Xpulse 200 has always been a very special dual-purpose machine ever since it came out a couple of years ago. It took over from the Hero Impulse, which was already an impressive machine in its own right, and then Hero made a couple of improvements and the Xpulse was born. Now given its displacement, styling, its capabilities, not only off-road but even the way it tackled certain tricky on-road situations, well, it was just astounding, and there's absolutely no machine that you can actually compare this bike to, given its capabilities on-road and off-road. Now, if there was anything the bike was lacking, it would have to be refinement. Now, Hero have been at it again this year and have made a couple of changes to the machine to rectify those shortcomings. Now, this is the new Hero Xpulse 4V.
When Hero says that it takes the feedback from its customers seriously, we tend to really believe them because, well, the company's certainly done so with the Xpulse. For instance, take the 2-valve BS6 Xpulse 200 which came out last year. Well, some felt that the switchgear of that bike needed to be changed around because things like the rocker style high beam switch kept dropping off for some reason. So, in steps Hero to address the issue by changing the switchgear around with the new Xpulse 200 4V. And I must admit that while it doesn't look all that special, it definitely feels built to last and very good to use. Then there's stuff like the headlight of the older BS6 bike, which most felt to be weak. In steps Hero again with a tweaked unit that's supposed to be around 20% brighter than before. But here too I can attest that there's honestly still room for improvement on this front. Besides this, there's other run-of-the-mill stuff. Cosmetic changes like the new stickers on the tank and panels, and even the new paint color options that aim to freshen things up a bit. And well, that seems to have worked as well.
Now the most significant change with this new Xpulse has to be with regard to its engine. The 4V in its name basically stands for 4 valves, which is 2 more valves than the older model. And with these 2 more valves, basically that reduces the pressure on the valve train, and this allows the engine to breathe and go about its business a lot smoother and better, especially at high revs. And this in turn has led to a slight bump up in power and torque. It's up by 1 PS and 1 Nm over the older model. And although these figures might seem rather insignificant, these changes don't just end there. So Hero have also increased the size of the oil cooler, the gear ratios have been altered, and even the rear sprocket has grown in size. It has 7 more teeth than the previous model. And this all comes together to help distribute the power and torque a lot more evenly across the band, and basically helps make this bike a better touring machine.
The added power and torque are spread a lot more evenly across the power band. Now, the first 2 gears of the Xpulse's 5-speeder are really short and are more suited to off-road riding scenarios. You'll often find yourself in 3rd when you're pottering around town at city speeds, while 4th and 5th gears are tall and more suited to speeds out on the open highway. A great thing about the Xpulse 4V is that now the engine is a lot more refined. It sounds a bit gruff the higher you climb up the power band, but it definitely feels less stressed than before. The bike gets off the line a lot quicker, and even at low speed, in-gear acceleration feels a lot livelier. Pick up the pace out on the open highway, and the motor doesn't feel out of its element like before, and you can hit speeds of around 80 to 90 kmph at around 6,500 rpm and hold it there very comfortably. 100 kmph also feels very manageable as well, and there's even some more power on tap for you to pull off vehicles traveling at the same speed, but it does tend to feel a little overworked, the engine, once you cross the 110 kmph mark, which is over 7,500 revs. Another commendable bit about the bike is that there are barely any vibrations to be felt around the 100 km/h mark, which makes Hero's efforts on this front laudable. The diamond type chassis is still the same as before, and if you've ridden the older Xpulse 200, well, you'll definitely know that this was never going to be a really bad thing. The suspension units on both ends and even the brakes with the single channel ABS have been carried over from the older BS6 bike, which came out last year. The instrument cluster is the same too, it's just that the Bluetooth connectivity software has received an update. Off the road, the Xpulse remains just an impressive and capable machine as it was before. It's still got that remarkable go anywhere attitude, it's light and easy to maneuver, and most importantly, it's a lot of fun to ride. Now, the suspension units are meant to tackle the rough stuff off-road, but as we all know how out here in India, our road conditions can often test the limits of any and all suspension units. Now, it's a bike that really makes a lot of sense in a country like ours because it's just so good at ironing out all the rough stuff on the road. Whether you're hitting bumps on purpose or not, this bike is just so forgiving, it's brilliant. And now, with the new updates, Hero has strengthened this bike's dual purpose credentials. It's just a perfect learning tool if you're getting used to riding off-road, and if you're one of the more experienced riders, you'll definitely fancy having the rally kit on this bike, which gives you better ground clearance, better knobby tires, adjustable front suspension, flat bench seat, extended levers, and so on. Now, another thing that deserves a mention on the Xpulse 4-valve is its seat padding. Now, the seat might look to be the same as before with the same shape and texture and everything, but it's a lot firmer now, and this alone makes a world of a difference, especially on long rides down the highway. Your back and your backside won't be crying out for mercy as soon as you head out on a long ride out of town, and that's something that has quite literally helped make the Xpulse a better machine in the long run.
Now, while the Hero Xpulse really excelled off-road, it was never really known to be an excellent touring machine. Now, have the company addressed that stature of this particular vehicle? Yes, it most certainly has. Now, it's not only the engine or the gearbox, it's just the way that it all comes together. The power, the gearbox, the engine, even the seat for that matter. It all just makes the bike a more compelling package both on and off the road. Now, Hero have certainly done a great job with this one. It's really impressive. And given the fact that this motorcycle just cost around 6,000 rupees over the older model, well, that's a steal, given all the changes and the improvements that the company has made over this. So yes, Hero have definitely sweetened the deal on this one.